G'day. There are tens of thousands of teenagers around the world hoping to make it into F1. Few do. Luck, skill, contacts and marketing value all play a part. But for a few, the dream becomes a reality. But it can quickly turn into a nightmare. Liam, Franco, Kimi, Ollie, 4 young men stepping up to F1, the pinnacle of motorsport with tens of millions of fans worldwide. The initial excitement is enormous, as is the scrutiny they face on the world stage. Most of these young men come through the lower open-seated categories. As they go from F4 to F3 to F2, they're rarely recognised outside the track, but they crave that. It's vital for their progress. Fans are appealing to sponsors, and with the journey to F1 costing millions, these drivers need to appeal to a large audience. As an F2 driver, most live normal lives. They can go to a restaurant, they can walk around shopping, they can travel commercially, no problems. The F2 paddock has, a handful of photographers and maybe a couple of more journalists. F1 though, you've got 100 plus of each, and those people need content for their clients and their audience. There's no doubt the spotlight on youngsters getting into Formula One is huge. Look at Ollie Bearman and Kimi Antonelli. They can still walk the paddock okay, they can stop and have a chat, it's no drama, but the other group of 20, different story. Liam and Franco are part of that group of 20, so they command more attention. Both seem pretty good with it now, and with things going well for both, they'd be revelling in the attention. Kimi and Ollie will get that attention in droves in 2025. Let's have a look at some of the changes these youngsters go through. For a start, it's not inconceivable that they would have had to have come up with anywhere from 5 to 10 million euros to get to Formula One. That's a lot of pressure for them, their families and their management, and often that distracts them. No money, no drive. Look at Zach O'Sullivan earlier this year. So good management is vital. Of course, if you're a Stroll, a Norris or a Sargent, you've got a wealthy family behind you, that helps. And certainly those dads would live vicariously through their sons' achievements. For them, money wasn't a worry. But once in F1, things change dramatically. Time becomes more valuable, teams need to recoup their investment in the driver, so there are more appearances involved, sponsor commitments, meetings, sim work. It's a very heavy workload, and during a typical 4-day race weekend, these drivers' schedules are planned down to the minute, and people are pushing them and pulling them. And of course, they still have to be out on track racing. But yes, you're probably saying, but they're getting big bucks. Yeah, they are. But the new kids coming in, maybe it's $1 million, a couple of million for the first year. Yeah, it's great money for doing what they love, and that's driving fast cars on track. But there are concessions. For a start, they lose a lot of their privacy. They know at the track that every move they take will be documented, that's fine. But it's more so away from the track that it can take its toll. Look at Charles, last year I think it was, when he asked people to stop ringing his doorbell. Lewis and Lando need security nearby if they are out eating in a restaurant. Why? Well, because they can't get any peace. Otherwise, people would just come up and interrupt them while they're eating, and they think that's okay. Then there's the pressure of social media. F2 driver might get, 30 to 50 DMs a week. Once they hit F1, that might be up to 300 to 500 a week, and they simply don't have time to read all of those messages. And most of those people want something. And then of course there are heart-wrenching stories, scams, abuse, compliments, advice. It runs the whole gamut. On the subject of abuse, Nicholas Latifi and Logan Sargent copped a fair whack of it, typically from weak people who don't have to identify themselves, and they say stuff that they'd never say to someone's face. Certainly young drivers who are unaccustomed to this could well be affected by it, and that might have serious implications for both their headspace and on-track results. It's my gut feel that a lot of the fame that they craved going up through those junior years suddenly turns into a burden. Some drivers tend to become more reclusive, and I did notice Lando in the last race in the US, instead of walking in through the normal swipe gates and passing all the media and fans, he actually took a sneaky little exit back of the hospitality suite, and I get that. Lewis used to do that, but now he's enjoying those arrival walks in his fashionable outfits. He's come to terms with the attention. Also bear in mind that drivers get bombarded with messages and gifts from love-struck girls, many of whom are craving an F1 girlfriend experience. And what is that like? Private flights, 5-star restaurants, mixing with the rich and famous, becoming a celebrity in their own right, and being in the company of a good-looking and a popular young male. It's quite a prize package, but very few get to claim that prize, so drivers need to be super careful about who they're associating with. Their managers are typically all over the drivers' private lives, who they knock around with, making sure that they don't get stuck with people who aren't genuine People are out there to turn their lives into a nightmare. Those from cricket-loving countries will remember Aussie cricketer Shane Warne was stitched up deluxe many years ago by two women looking for a tabloid payday. An F1 driver could easily fall victim to the same ruse. Going back to the money side of things, after years and years of scraping and staying in B-grade or C-grade in many times hotels, suddenly they're on big bucks and they're staying in 5-star hotels. And then many get bombarded with offers from private sponsors, signed print deals, free meals, invites to exclusive parties and more. It's like drinking from a fire hose. But once again, good management will sift through all those and guide them in the right direction. Another eye-opener for these drivers is travelling. That can become a real issue. I've seen drivers at the lights in Monza get mobbed by fans. They're all over their car, they're damaging the car, and the poor driver's stuck there. I notice more drivers are now sitting in the back of their SUVs, which have tinted windows, so that they can't be recognised, some even lying down on the back seat. It's all very Beatle-esque in their prime. Often they need protection. I've been on the road in the US, Mexico, Brazil and Hungary and seen police escorts guiding them through the traffic. That's a bonus. But there's also the risk of kidnappings, something that's not often talked about, but it has happened before. Not to drivers, I don't think. Certainly Bernie Ecclestone's mother-in-law, I think it was kidnapped in Brazil. Of course, until it happens, it's probably not front of mind. But certainly the drivers' managers are well aware of it and will make plans if they think their driver is at risk. What about airports? There's a lot of standing around and waiting, a lot of mobbing if a driver flies commercial, which is why many of them fly private. But of course, not all drivers have the budget to be able to go private, so they're stuck going sometimes first class, more often business, but occasionally in economy. I've seen Alex Albon back in economy with Nico Hulkenberg once. I think he had about a 10-hour flight once, and it was the only seat he could get. On the attention side, Liam, Franco, Ollie and Kimi appear to be pretty comfy with it now, although Franco going to Brazil is going to be a big story. I imagine he's going to have quite a security detail in that country. I remember Josh Cruz telling me when he was working for Yuki Tsunoda in Japan one race that he had to actually just barge through the crowd with Yuki almost having his head on Josh's back so he could get back to the paddock, so popular was he. Of course, a driver can't be expected to appease 1,000 people in a mobbing crowd, just as he can't respond to every DM on social media. That's why a lot of the drivers have their social media manager look after that side of things, and that comes as a cost to the driver, and then fans can often detect that that's not the driver responding, so that has the propensity to diminish the driver's brand. I've talked about this before too, but fans can often be very selfish in their want for something from a driver. I've seen drivers respond, look, I can't do it because of something, and when the driver leaves, the fan's all offended. And I think, hang on, you've asked somebody who's working to stop what they're doing for you, but when they can't help out, they run the risk of offending a fan. Certainly in a driver's early career, they're more than happy to do as much as they can. I'm still seeing that with Charles Leclerc. He makes every effort to sign something, to pose for a selfie when he can. You look at the other side of the things with Lewis and Fernando, they've been doing this for decades. It's just grinding on them, and they are busy people. Fernando rarely signs stuff on the way in, although I did see him sign a flag in Singapore, but it was a flag from his hometown. That clearly got his attention. Then there's the on-track stuff. This is an unforgiving sport. Only one driver can win a race, and someone has to come last, so rookies are expected to be at the top of their game the very second they get into the car. Bad results can break you and ruin your confidence. Ask Nick De Vries, what did he get? Half a season in 2023. There's no doubt it's tough. And when traditional and social media piles in on top of them, it can be all-consuming. I actually spoke to a driver's girlfriend going back, I won't say when, and I was talking to her about her boyfriend's dramas with the team, and she said he just didn't know who he could trust. There was so much going on, he wasn't getting the support he needed, and in those instances, it's very easy to spiral into a dark place. And when you make a mistake at your work, it might be seen by, 5, 20, 30 people. When an F1 driver makes a mistake, it can be seen by 80 million. Take Logan Sargent on the Saturday at Zandvoort earlier this year. He crashes. 80 million people probably saw that. Even more when you tack on the replays on social media. F1's a marvellous competition. It offers magnificent riches and rewards to those who race in it, but for some, the decline can be dramatic and emotionally draining. Nicholas, Logan, Nick know only too well the dark side of this sport. And then there's the Daniel Ricciardo situation in Singapore. He just couldn't be honest with the media. He knew the deal. Everybody in the paddock knew by Friday what was going on, But he was bound by the team. They dictated the narrative, and so Daniel had to carry on the charade, and that played with his mind. It would for anyone, I'd suggest. And what about the consequences of saying something ill-considered, offensive, or stupid? That ended Yuri Vip's career. His remark was noted and then amplified. In the end, he was sacked. Was that the right response? No, I'm asking you. Do you think that was the right measure? Comment below, please. Look, I mix with these drivers 100 days a year. I see their joy and their despair, and I view it up close through a zoom lens. And it gives me an amazing insight into their emotional state and well-being, particularly when I'm shooting them in the media pen post-race. It's brutal when you've had a shocker of a day, and then you have to front up to 15 different TV crews and tell them what you did wrong. I see it in their eyes, and sometimes it's very hard to watch. There you have it. Fame and Formula One. The effects it has on young drivers. Now I have to go and do something else, so in the interim, can you please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't done so, or become a member? That's appreciated. And for a whole host of extra content, flip around here. Thanks for watching.
And stay passionate.
But even occasionally, there's a dog again. No, let's not say that.